Hmm.
No pun intended, episode number 53, our first episode of the new year, kinda, technically. How's it going, Matt?
Good, Jesse. How are you doing?
I am doing great. We have a couple topics for today. Number one is players ranked by their 2024 performance ratings. And then after that, we are doing some Goalie Awards, the 2024 Goalie Awards. We have a few different categories here. We have Best Tournament of the Year, Content Creator of the Year, who just had the best year of chess in general, Villain of the Year, and Upcomer of the Year. So Matt and I have a couple answers in common, couple answers where we disagree. So stay tuned to figure out which one is which. All right, I'm going to put up the top 2024 performance ratings on the board, and you'll never guess who is number one, Matt.
I'm going with Magnus the Goat Carlsen.
Absolutely. And he ended 2024 with champagne as well as he got married. Very cool development for him. I heard there was rumors that like on 4 a.m. of his wedding night he was playing. Did you hear this? He playing Naroditsky in the Blitz match or something like that.
No, I didn't, but I'm sure it was just epic for him.
I don't
Like,
know.
probably for content too.
I don't know if that's actually true, but I'm not going to fact check it because I want it to be true.
Yeah. You know what's
Uh,
interesting is he only played 18 games according to what we're looking at in all of 2024. And his performance rating is 2831. His current rating is exactly 2831.
yeah, so you know what you're getting. He's 28-31 through and through.
Yep.
And yeah, that was crazy. When I saw this list, that may be the one thing that stuck out most to me is only 18 games for Magnus. Didn't it seem like we had more?
Yeah, it kind of did, but I mean, he's been quiet most of the year, I guess, when you stop and think. The problem is he's just playing in all these other events. So you see his name everywhere, but they're just not the classical tournaments.
Yep, he played in the SEC. He played in the World Rapid and Blitz. Obviously, a lot of drama there. And yeah, he hosted these freestyle events. He hosted all kinds of different events, but I guess just not that much classical. And despite on that, he still reigns supreme, number one. So 28-31 rating for Magnus. Number two, our boy Hikaru Nakamura, 28-27 performance rating. Wonderful year for him, but still only 27 games. So Magnus played two tournaments, Naka played three tournaments. So yeah, fun to see them on top. This is a top cluster of three. Number three, Eric Geisy. And one of these things is not like the other. He played 113 games. It seemed like he was playing every single tournament imaginable. Crushed in the Olympiad, crushed basically everywhere, but he wasn't able to qualify for the candidates this year. But a 28-25 performance rating over 113 games. That is crazy.
I mean, that tells you that performance rating is pretty accurate. And his current rating is still lagging behind that slightly, 2801. But if Magnus is a true 2830, like you said, and Eric Icy's performing at 2825 over 113 games in 1 year, I would love to see Eric Icy against Carlsen in a match if we could get that coming up.
Oh man, I would love that. Or even Hikaru versus Erigaisi. That's such a good matchup.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, 113 games. He's playing a game almost every 3 days, roughly. Is that roughly like 330 or something? So like every 3 games, he's playing a classical game.
that's
Um,
crazy. And there's only one other player. So the list that we have shows the top 39 players' performance ratings. Only one other player has more games that I can see. It's Parham Magsudlu. He has 114 games. So one additional game. So essentially, he's played the most games, tied for the most in the top 39 players in the world, and he's ranked third.
yeah, Amin Tabatabai. I don't know how to say that, but also 113 games. Alexi Serrana, 100 games. What I'd like to see is Hans Moke Neiman at 99 games, so very active for him. It seemed like he was playing everything too.
Yeah, and he also did a lot of rapid and blitz. I think that's what the list is kind of missing. You see the number of games, but it doesn't give the complete picture because now more and more players are playing the faster time controls.
Yeah, yeah, and Hans finished the year 15th with a 27-32 rating, which is good, but that's 100 points under Magnus. So pretty big gap there. I don't know who of the top 15 do you think has a chance to really break out? Maybe we'll get to that later in our breakout of the year. but I feel like Hans has one of the highest ceilings of anyone there, except for maybe Faruja or I don't know, maybe even Wei Yi. Feel like people are still sleeping on him.
Yeah, Wei Yi is still pretty young. I feel like Hans had a more impressive year than this 27-32. That's the crazy thing because you look at his current rating, 27-34. It feels like that's pretty fresh of a rating, but the ratings lag behind their performance, right? So
Yep.
you would expect his performance to be higher than his current rating. They're exactly the same right now.
Yep. So he's potentially reaching some sort of plateau. That's kind of indicates that to me at least.
Mhm.
Okay, so who's number 29 on this list, Matt?
Number 29 is none other than former world champion Ding Liren, and his performance rating was 2690 over 54 games. And if you look at his current rating, he's sitting at 2734, which means he's been underperforming even his current rating that puts him, what is 2734 on the top list? Number 17 in the world. He's performing lower than 17 in the world. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, a few things stuck out to me here. A, I didn't think he played 54 games this year. When I saw that, I'm like, I don't think he played anything other than the World Championship, which was 14 games, but I guess he must have found 40 games somewhere else. I really don't remember him playing much. Um, one other thing is we did some math off before we started streaming. So his performance rating for the year was 2690, which is nowhere near where you want to be if you're are playing for a world championship. Um, so in the world championship match, though, he played 14 games. We did a little estimation here. So Gakesh D finished the tournament at roughly around 20, what was it, 2780 we decided he finished the tournament at?
Yeah, we figured 2780.
Okay. And from there, we just kind of estimated that his performance rating in the World Championship was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2750. And from there, we backtracked what was his performance rating before the World Championship, and he wouldn't have even made the top 40. He was at 2670 roughly. So under Nihal Sarin, under Vladislav Artemiev, Magsudlu, Van Forest, Ray Robson, Dubov, Esipenko, all these people, he's below them, and he's playing for the World Championship.
And that's 150 points below the top three, essentially. So
Yeah,
he's performing at 150 points lower than the top three going into the World Championship.
yep. And what's crazy is he actually played very well in the World Championship, and he could have been
Yeah.
the champ. He could have defended the belt. But one mistake in game 14 cost him everything, and he traded into a lost king and pawn endgame. Happens to the best of us. Also happens to the 29th best of us.
Yeah. I was looking at which tournaments he played. So there was the World Championship match, of course.
Yep.
And then he played in the Budapest Olympiad,
Oh,
the
yeah, that's right.
Singfield Cup. I
Okay.
forgot he played the Singfield Cup. That's right. Didn't he play Gukesh in that too? Yeah, he did. He drew Gukesh.
Yep.
And then I think there was one other tournament that he also played in. So he played in the World Blitz team event and the World Rapid team event. Norway Chess. That was the other one,
Okay.
24.
So yeah, getting some decent reps in there. Yeah, I do remember him playing in the Olympiad, and then they sat him against India. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
when he would have been matched up against Ergaisi or Gakesh, one of the two.
I think it's because he performed so poorly
Yeah,
that it's forgettable performances,
yeah,
because I'm looking, it's like, it says he played Tata Steel. He played the Freestyle Goat Challenge. He played the Grinky Chess Classic. I think Grinky is now Rapid. Yeah, that's Rapid. And then Goat Freestyle Goat is obviously Freestyle Chess. But Tata Steel as well.
yep. Anything on the rating list for the last year that sticks out to you? I guess we didn't mention Fabiano coming in at fifth at a 2,800 performance rating. Noterbeck right behind him though, 2794. That's really interesting. I don't think his live rating is quite there, but he's close. Only other thing that really stuck out to me is Jan Nepomniachtchi. I still consider him like a top five, maybe even like, for sure top 10 type of player, but he was in at 12th, pretty mediocre, like 2743 rating over the last year, and that was with 46 games.
Yeah. So I would say there's not a lot of breakout players that I see on this list, but there are quite a few juniors that performed a little bit higher than their ratings, like Noterbeck, Wei Yi, Prague just slightly higher. So I think it's nice to see some of these young guys still climbing.
Yep. Yep, I agree. Okay, so that was really interesting. Thank you to Reddit user Knight the Conqueror for putting that all together. Really interesting stuff. It's always fun because we've been talking about this, but I don't actually know how to calculate these. So thank you to Knight the Conqueror for putting it together or just sending everyone the image. That was very nice. And yeah, lots of interesting data. Yeah, Jan Christoph Duda again, number 10. Interesting. Only 26 games, but pretty good year. All right, should we do the 2024 Chess Awards?
Yeah, let's go into them.
Okay, drum roll, please. I found the sound effects in CapCut in order to do sound effects. So I've been doing them. I think I did two last episode, just like a generic booing and a generic applauding. I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
keep trying to mess them in because they're kind of fun to do, as long as you don't overdo them.
I like it. I mean, overdo them if you want. I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, let me know in the comments if you want to overdo him. Before we get into chess awards,
Yay!
before we get into
Woo.
chess awards, if you want to support the podcast, feel free to give us a rating, give us a like, subscribe to us. All you have to do is click a few buttons, and it helps us out a lot. So we thank you for doing all of that. All right, we have 5 categories. Let's go through them one by one, and we'll maybe have some honorable mentions for a couple of these categories as well. Okay, 2024 Goalie Awards. So, if you're in a famous actor, you're maybe looking for getting an Emmy Award or an Oscar. If you like music, maybe you're looking for a CMT Award. But if you're selling paper, maybe you're looking for a Dundee Award. But if you are a chess player, you are coming after the 2024 Goalie Awards. So, category number 1. Matt, what was your favorite tournament of the year?
Best tournament of the year. So I know we disagree on this one. I'm going with the 2024 World Chess Championship. And the reason why is even though we haven't seen Magnus in the championship for the past two, I really enjoy just the whole atmosphere of the one-on-one format, the kind of meta game of trying to out-strategize each other. And I've been following World Chess Championship matches since I was like 6 years old. I remember it was a Kasparov Karpov World Championship match from like 1990 or 1992 or something like that. I got the year wrong. But my dad and I were getting like move
Oh,
feeds
nice.
somehow on the internet live. And like I would follow the games on the board. And I had a couple books on some world championship matches. So I've just always been in the into the world championship. And I think Gukesh actually played quite a bit better than the results showed. It's just Ding Liren came to play. But if Gukesh would have won that by +2, +3, that wouldn't have surprised me.
Player
And I
going
think he's a
forward.
super.
Yep, I agree. He could be a problem for the entire chess world. I could see him sitting on the world championship for 10 years, honestly.
Yeah, so could I. He could become the next Magnus. It's very possible. He's not playing quite as strong as Aragaisi lately, but he's young and he's right there.
Yeah, and I just feel like the prep for the World Chess Championship, like all that prep work you do, that's going to pay dividends for years and years. You for sure see that with Fabi. Like he's been a top 2 or 3 player for like the last 6 years since he had that match with Magnus.
Yeah, that is true. Right, it elevates your game just playing in the tournament.
Yeah.
Unless you're Ding Liren, then it could plummet you.
Then it deflates your game, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I considered the World Chess Championship for my best tournament of the year. However, the games, this is a bit selfish, but the games starting super early, I wasn't really able to follow any of them live. That was a bit of a bummer for me. I also, it doesn't feel right with Magnus not being in it, and so those two things did drop it down a bit of a notch for me. Also, Ding Liren playing for it is like we said, he was number 40 in live ratings for the year coming into it. It took a little bit of the like mystique around the World Chess Championship away from me. So I would put that number 2 for me. My favorite tournament of the year, though, was the candidates. All the drama, wondering if Hikaru was going to make it, If Fabi is going to like win against Jan in the last round to force tie breaks against Gakesh, gets the winning position, couldn't convert it. Gakesh just being slow and steady, holding the draw against Naka in the last round, I'm pretty sure. Just a lot of drama, a lot of stuff going down. Even the storyline of is Jan going to do it again? He was up early, and it just seemed like no one was going to be able to catch him. And then Naka lost early to Vidit, and then he kept like winning games, getting close into it. But then Kakesh D is just like taking a bunch of draws and converting every chance he gets for a win, and just slow and steady. So I like the drama. I like the storyline of the whole Canada's tournament. So that is my pick for best tournament of the year.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Honorable mention has got to be the SCC. That's a wonderful event. That would be my third place for sure.
I was also going to say SCC. I love that event, and it's always fun to watch Magnus play too. I think that was the most exciting Magnus event in my eyes. Um, but I would also add one that I was just thinking of while you were talking because it had a lot of drama, and we've been into the chess drama ever since this podcast. I mean, social media, we got to be into drama now.
That's right.
The Kramnik Jospin match I
Oh
thought
yeah,
was pretty interesting, and I followed it pretty closely as well. Just all the drama of the reboots of the laptop and the laggy pieces and the interviews with Levy Rosman is
yeah.
just and Jospin being cool, calm, and collected the whole match. I thought that was a nice contrast to Kramnik.
Oh
So
yeah,
I put
man,
that one
quite
up
the
there as
contrast.
honorable.
Okay, one more selfish honorable mention, but that would be the Chicago Open because that's where the whole cheating scandal went down. You got to chat
Ooh,
with Dane. That
yeah.
was a fascinating episode. So that was very cool too.
And I lost some rating points. Yeah, that's
But you
fun
held
to
on
time.
to 2200 though.
True. Okay. All right, next one.
All right.
Best content creator of 2024. Who you got?
Okay, maybe let's start with some honorable mentions. So, honorable mention, I think my number two. So, Matt and I are unanimous on best content creator, but my number two is going to be Daniel Naroditsky. Taking all the heat that he took from Kramnik completely unjustifiedly, also stepping up and kind of being the lead commentator, I should say, for chess.com all year. I think he did most of the World Championship games, covered a lot of the Speed Chess Championship. He's just been one of my favorites. Before we get to the gold medal, do you have any honorable mentions you want to mention?
Um, Not an individual creator, but I've personally enjoyed the chess.com channel more this year. I think they've done some very interesting new type content. And in particular, and this is going to be kind of cheesy sounding, I like the lie detector videos.
Dude, me
Um,
too.
they get the players to say things that you don't normally hear them talk about, and I find that very fascinating because in the past, chess players just give the worst, the most boring interviews of all time. But the lie detector videos, we get to like actually hear what they think about.
Yep. Yeah, 100% agree. When you said the chess.com like YouTube, I immediately thought of the lie detector. They got Hikaru on the lie detector. The Anish and Vidit episode was hilarious. Was it
Yeah,
Vidit? I think it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good one. Maybe a Dubov Hans episode coming up. We will see.
That would be cool.
All
All right,
right,
so
but
who's your top one?
all right. So the 2024 Goalie Award for Best Content Creator goes to the Take YouTube channel. They got Magnus to talk and open up, and their YouTube recaps for the World Championship were great. Even just all the interviews that Levy was doing during the World Blitz and Rapid, they got Hans in there, they got Dubov in there, and they just they had their foot on the ground for all the best content. So kudos to them. Pretty easy decision for me on that one, don't you think?
Me as well, and it's Magnus that sells it. I mean, his commentary of the World Championship was incredible, and you never get to hear him talk that much.
Yeah, that's how you know he's never coming back to the World Championship. He's given away all his secrets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, category number three, the best year. So, who had the best year in general of chess? We are also unanimous on this one, and it's probably not going to be a giant surprise. So, Gukesh D becoming the world's youngest chess championship, or world's youngest chess champion at just 18 years old. winning the candidates as a pretty big underdog, hitting 2,800 almost, but not quite. Um, I think it's got to be Gukesh D for sure, don't you?
Yep, I agree 100%. It's hard to pick anybody else, but I will give an honorable mention. I will say Magnus Carlsen has had a very good year. And the
Yep.
reason why is I think he is more popular than ever without having the classical title. And when he first gave up the title, it seemed like he kind of went a little bit in incognito mode for a bit. Like we didn't really hear a lot about Magnus, but now he's got all of his events running. He pretty much owns FIDE, it appears. Like they
Yep.
will bend their rules to make Magnus happy. He's got all the chess.com stuff going on. He's got take, take, take. Uh, I think Magnus had a great year. It's just hard to top Gukesh.
Yeah. Another great year has got to be Eric Geisy. He had a complete breakout year.
Yeah.
Another name I'm going to throw out is Hans. He did have a great year over the board, but I think the chess community in general believes that he is innocent and should be absolved of his crimes, don't you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I was also kind of thinking he'd be one that'd be honorable mention for this.
Yeah. Okay, category number 405, our villain of the year. We do not agree on this one, but Matt has a incredible answer. I completely forgot about the story. Who is your villain of the year?
Amina Abakarova. And you might think, who is Amina Abakarova? This was the lady, and in this text it says allegedly, so we'll say that, who allegedly attempted to poison her opponent during a chess tournament, which led to legal consequences. And this was the story where, if I'm remembering correctly, she used mercury
Yep.
to spread it around the table on her opponent's side of the board. And mercury soaks into your skin. Is that correct? Or was it?
Yeah, I think it's just like very toxic, and if it gets in your bloodstream, that's kind of game over.
Yeah. So her opponent was getting symptoms, and that led to the investigation of Amina doing something at the board prior to them playing. It was captured on video.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just the craziest story. And I actually had forgotten about it. And I started researching
Hmm.
once I saw your questions. And then I was like, okay, that has to be number one. I mean, that's a bigger chess villain than even Hans Niemann could be.
Grainy footage shows Abakurova walking tentatively across a room, looking up to see if anyone's noticing her. She approaches one of the desks with the chessboard laid onto it and puts the nondescript carrier bag she's carrying underneath it. She then finds another desk and appears to brush a dark gray powder, which prosecutors alleges mercury onto the board. Absolutely crazy. She appears to frantically put the chess piece down in the exact same place that she grabbed it, scans the room, books it. Crazy.
Insane.
Apparently, the charges were dropped, but I don't know. We will see how that one plays out. That was last updated August 8th of this year.
I think the
Uh,
opponent did say no need to press charges. I think they were rivals too.
okay. Wow. So, true or not, amazing villain. If I'm, listen, I'm competitive. I'm not sure I would ever poison an opponent, but I don't know. Would you poison an opponent?
I've never really considered it.
I mean, I'd probably give them a virus. I'd probably send them like a keylogger on chess.com.
Oh, that kind of virus. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna give him COVID or something.
No, no, I would never. Okay, my villain of the year. I'll give an honorable mention to Hans Niemann, who seems to kind of be playing up the heel role in chess, which I think we need more of. But we have an authentic villain who kind of is awful, and that is Vladimir Kramnik, accusing everyone of cheating, zero evidence, posting random numbers. It's like he's the Unabomber. No one
Yeah.
really understands what he's referencing. And so he also doesn't have any understanding of like outlier data.
Yeah.
Like nothing can ever be an outlier. And so I am going Vladimir Kravnik. I saw a recent tweet of his. He said, like, I analyzed all of Magnus's Title Tuesday performance ratings. And like he was very consistently good, but not amazing. He had a few good performances. Like his highest was like 94 or whatever units he's using. But then he like picked out three other people that had higher performance ratings in the Title Tuesday. Title Tuesday. I'm like, okay, that seems normal because there's so many other people playing so many other tournaments. like they're bound to have someone with an outlier performance that did better than Magnus's best performance. Isn't that just completely expected?
Yeah, and I think this is the problem with statistics in general. There's about 95% of the population that have zero clue what statistics are, and they'll even tell you stats was my least favorite class if they did take stats and they find out you're into stats. Then you got about 2% that are really good with data, right? They love spreadsheets, whatever. Then the remaining 12% are the ones that are dangerous because they know just enough to make these sort of claims and dig enough into the data without knowing, yeah, how to run statistical tests or what types of things you can kind of just expect, even though they look random or not random. And Vladimir falls in that camp.
Did you just use stats to prove why stats are bad?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I caught that. Matt is an actual statistician. He said 90% of people don't know about stats. So Matt is in the 20%. He knows what he's talking about.
That's
Um,
right.
I took a lot of math in college. Actually have a minor in math. Kind of forgot about that. But my least favorite math class was stats for sure, and I was not really any good at it.
Um, well, you know what they say about stats?
What is that?
It's 10% luck,
20% skill?
15% concentrated power of will.
That's the Yogi Berra quote too. It's like half the stats they made about me are made up, or half the lies about me aren't they tell about me aren't true, something like that.
Yeah, and what was the movie quote? Like
Oh,
60%
60% of
of
the time it works every time.
every time. Yeah, you're right.
Fun with statistics. Or there's I think another Yogi Berra quote. It's like there's three types of liars: liars, damn liars, and statisticians.
Yeah, like that.
Okay, upcomer of the year. This is our fifth and final category. Who do you have for upcomer of the year, Matt?
I have Hans Niemann, and I'm gonna say it just because he had all of these matches that he set up,
Yep.
and even though his performance rating didn't show a noticeable increase from his current rating, I think he, to me, strikes me as one of these rare generational type players. And the reason I say this is because when you watch Magnus play, when you watch Hikaru play, and you watch Alireza play, I would say those are the only three other current players. They have this factor about their play where they never go down without a fight. Like just their intuitive ability to make positions super messy and complicated and never lose is unmatched. And I don't think any other players were close to those top three until now. Hans Niemann, who I would put in that camp. Like if you watch that first Blitz game he played against Magnus at the World Blitz Championship, the World Blitz Championship, Magnus was winning. And I was watching it live on the webcam. And Magnus went from winning to, oh, it's getting a little bit shaky to, oh, now it's kind of equal. And then the commentators were like, oh, is Hans trying to win? And Hans ends up winning. And just watching the demeanor of Magnus go from confident but nervous, like he had these extra nerves playing Hans, to
Yeah.
like really nervous to scared to getting mad, and then finally winning the two games after that, celebrating, slamming a piece down on the board. He's not going to slam a piece down on the board like that for any 27-20 player. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
think the top players know now, hey, Hans is coming, and be ready because he's going to be loud when he gets to the top.
Yep, and he is in everyone's head. It's
Yeah.
crazy. He's in Magnus's head for sure. Magnus does not blow those games even in blitz.
Yeah, he wants no part of Hans. He's even said it. He doesn't want to play him.
Yep. Very curious what that Netflix documentary is going to say, by the way. Okay, my upcomer of the year, I have to go Eric Geisy because he was not really on the board in 2023. But now I think he's at the top of everyone's list for next World Champion Challenger. He should easily make the candidates, and it seems like he's the favorite to win the next candidates. Would you agree? Well, maybe
Um,
Fabi.
I would still say Fabi. I just did say Fabi in a different podcast, and I don't think I've changed my opinion. But it's close. I think Fabi won. Eric Icy maybe two, but I'd put Hikaru up there as well if he qualifies.
Yeah, yeah, those are the top three. Eric Geisy, I don't know. I might have a slight pull for Eric Geisy just because he'll a bit younger, and who knows if Hikaru is starting to decline, and how long can Fabi keep up his 2,800 performance rating? I'm obviously going to root for the Americans, but wonder about Eric Geisy. One breakout upcomer honorable mention I wanted to call out. This is someone who is not on anyone's radar at all. And then he put together some insane Title Tuesday performances, some insane, just like rapid games, rapid tournaments, and that is Denis Lazovic. He is like a 25-80 over the board player, but he is playing with the very best in the Blitz and Rapid and in Title Tuesday. And so very interesting rise that he's had just like in the last like 4 or 5 months, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. His live rating is 2578.
Yeah,
He's only
crazy.
18 years old. And we've seen this time and time again. When a player is a very top blitz player at a young age, classical almost always follows suit.
Yep. So watch out for him to make 2650 this year without really even trying. I feel like he's very clearly at that. Like he's playing blitz like he's a 2700 player.
Another honorable mention, this that made me think of this because of Kramnik's accusations. Stealth ways to use stockfish, I think, is the upcomer of the year. Like, I think people are getting more and more creative with ways to cheat online, and I think a lot of the top players all sort of know it, right? It's like the elephant in the room. They all kind of like suspect each other are cheating somehow, figuring out ways to cheat. And hopefully we see some changes in 2025 that sort of help us figure this situation out and make it more clear. Like, hey, these players are all legit, and here's why.
Yep. Yeah, I hope so. And I hope we see more like OTB Blitz events because that is really gonna show show the chess world who's legit and who isn't. I think Denis Lazovic, a lot of people were very, very suspicious of him when he was crushing these Title Tuesdays. He almost upset Magnus in some like knockout tournament. I don't remember what it was exactly, but then at the World Rapid and Blitz, he played super well, and I think he almost won the Rapid, but he kind of faded towards the end. So yeah, incredible comeback from him. Um, Another honorable mention, honestly, not really an upcomer, but Josplum had a pretty good year. He won a ton of Title Tuesdays and defended his own against Vlad. So he's another name to toss out there.
Can I add one more?
Absolutely.
Alice Lee from
Hmm.
Minnesota. I was trying to figure out what her current rating is, but I was doing a little research with ChatGPT, and it said that she had one of the top years of all female players.
That's awesome. Yeah, Minnesota shout out. Did you play her, by the way?
I drew her in Rochester. It was like a Masters Invitational tournament that we had.
Yeah, that's right. Because it was one of those like Dutch games where you pushed all the kingside pawns.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
She's 2386 and born in 2009. So that's what, 16, probably 15 years old, 2386.
Someone born in 2009 is better than me at chess. That's crazy. She's also 20 years younger than me. Very cool. Yeah, Minnesota represent. Hopefully, she can do some damage in the women's circuit. Yeah, did she win the U.S. championship for women? I think it was someone else, actually. No, it was
Yeah,
someone else. Who was it?
not sure.
Okay. Because whoever it was won like their first 8 games or something like that, or 9 games. But I'm blanking.
Was it Carissa? Yep.
Oh, yeah, it was Carissa. Yep. Awesome. Okay, well, that is going to do it for this week's podcast. Thank you all for joining, and congratulations to all the winners of the inaugural 2024 Goalie Awards. Your prize checks are in the mail. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.